Ladies and gentlemen, some people will look down on you no matter what you do. You could be kind, successful, hardworking, or even generous. Yet to them, it's never enough. And here's the truth that has more to do with them than it does with you. How do you handle people like this without letting them crush your confidence or dictate your worth? Let's talk about 5 powerful ways. When someone looks down on you, the easiest thing to do is snap back, get defensive, or try to prove yourself. But the problem with that is now you're playing their game. Instead, breathe, stay calm. The more composed you are, the more control you have, not over them, but over yourself. And that's where real strength lies. Their opinion is not your reality. You don't need to internalize every look, every tone, or every dismissive word. The way they see you says more about their insecurities than your value. Never outsource your worth to someone who doesn't respect it. Respect doesn't mean weakness. It means choosing not to lower yourself. When you respond calmly, firmly, and with respect, you not only disarm them, you also send a clear message. I know who I am, and I don't need to put you down to prove it. You don't have to accept every invitation to be disrespected. Sometimes handling people who look down on you means limiting access to you. It could be reducing conversations, saying I'm not okay with that, or even walking away when necessary. Boundaries aren't walls, they're filters that protect your peace. When you're constantly around people who tear you down, it becomes harder to see your worth clearly. Balance that out. Find people who believe in you, who encourage you, who challenge you in a healthy way, because the right circle won't just remind you of your value, they'll magnify it. People can only look down on you if you let them. The moment you stand tall in your own confidence, their opinions shrink in power. So don't fight to be seen by those who refuse to see you. Focus instead on being the kind of person who knows their own worth, even when others don't. When someone looks down on you, the first natural reaction is often anger. You want to snap back, defend yourself, and prove them wrong. That's human. But here's the problem. When you let their attitude dictate your response, you've already given them power over you, and that's exactly what they want. People who belittle others usually feed off reaction. They thrive when they see you flustered, when they see they've gotten under your skin. That's why staying calm is such a powerful tool. It doesn't mean you're ignoring what's happening. It means you're refusing to give away your peace. Think of it like this. If someone throws fire at you, you can choose whether to throw gasoline or water. Anger is gasoline. Calm is water. And in most cases, calmness is what diffuses the situation. The person may expect you to explode, to argue, or to spiral, but when you remain collected, you disrupt their script. They no longer get the reaction they were seeking. And in that moment, you keep your dignity intact. Staying calm doesn't mean you stay silent either. It's not about allowing disrespect to go unchecked. It's about choosing the right time and the right tone to address it. You can say, I don't appreciate being spoken to like that, in a steady voice, without raising it, without rolling your eyes, without sarcasm. That's strength. That's control. Because the loudest person in the room is not always the most powerful. Often the person who keeps composure holds the real authority. The truth is, when someone looks down on you, it often has nothing to do with you. It could be their insecurity, their jealousy, their frustration with their own life that spills out in the form of arrogance or condescension. By staying calm, you silently communicate that their storm will not shake your foundation. You send a message that your confidence isn't up for negotiation. And here's something important. When you practice calmness in these situations, you're not just protecting yourself from their negativity. You're also protecting your energy for the things that actually matter. Because if you burn yourself out, fighting every dismissive comment or disrespectful glance, you'll have nothing left for the goals and relationships that deserve your attention. Calmness allows you to pick your battles wisely. Now, does this mean you won't feel the sting of disrespect? Not at all. You're human, and those moments will hurt. But calmness is choosing not to let that hurt dictate how you respond. It's reminding yourself that their behavior doesn't define you, and your reaction doesn't have to validate them. It's saying to yourself, I know who I am, and I don't need to lose myself to prove it. So the next time someone looks down on you, breathe before you react. Give yourself that pause, hold your ground, not by shouting, but by standing tall in silence when needed and speaking firmly when necessary. Because at the end of the day, people can look down on you all they want, but they can't pull you down if you refuse to step off your own foundation. Calmness is not weakness, it is strength under control. And when you master it, you'll discover that no one's arrogance is strong enough to shake your peace. When people look down on you, one of the most damaging things that can happen is not their words or actions, but the moment you start to believe them. That's where the real danger lies. Because when you begin to adopt their low opinion of you as truth, you quietly hand over your sense of self-worth. And the truth is, no one should have that kind of power over you. Your value doesn't shrink just because someone else refuses to see it. Their opinion, no matter how loudly it's spoken or how confidently it's delivered, is not a reflection of your worth. It is only a reflection of who they are and how they choose to see the world. Think about it. If 10 people met you today, each one would have a slightly different impression. Some might admire you, some might misunderstand you, some might criticize you. So which one is the truth? The answer is none of them, because your worth is not determined by external opinions. It is something that exists independent of how anyone else feels about you. The real question is, how do you see yourself? If you can hold on to a strong, healthy sense of self-worth, then the voices of critics lose their power. Protecting your self-worth means building a shield around your identity. That shield is formed by self-awareness, self-respect, and self-acceptance. You know your strengths. You acknowledge your flaws without shame, and you choose not to let either praise or criticism inflate or deflate your value. Because if you rise too high on compliments, you'll fall just as hard on insults. True self-worth is steady. It's consistent. It says, I know who I am, and I know I matter even when someone else fails to see it. Of course, this is easier said than done. The reality is hurtful words stick. They replay in your head. They make you question yourself in quiet moments. But here's the thing. When those doubts creep in, you have to challenge them. Ask yourself, is this really who I am, or is this just someone else's projection? 9 times out of 10, it's projection. People who belittle others often carry their own insecurities, and putting others down is how they mask it. If you let that define you, you're letting their brokenness become your identity, and you deserve better than that. Protecting your self-worth also means surrounding yourself with voices that lift you up, not drag you down. You don't have to cut off everyone who criticizes you, but you do need to balance it out with people who see your potential, who remind you of your strengths, who push you to grow in healthy ways. The more you nurture that supportive environment, the less impact the negative voices will have. At the end of the day, you can't stop people from looking down on you, but you can stop looking down on yourself because of them. That's the real battle. The moment you refuse to let their opinion define your identity, you take your power back. You remind yourself that your worth is not up for debate. It's not something anyone else gets to vote on. It's built into you, and no amount of arrogance or disrespect from others can take it away. You are more than the opinions of others. And the only definition that truly matters is the one you choose to believe about yourself. When someone looks down on you, the instinctive response is to push back, to snap, to give them a taste of their own medicine. It feels fair. It feels deserved. But here's the problem with retaliation. It may give you a moment of satisfaction, but it rarely leaves you in a place of strength. In fact, it often drags you down to the same level as the person who disrespected you. And once you're there, they've already won. Responding with respect, on the other hand, doesn't just preserve your dignity. It also shows that you're in control of yourself, not controlled by their behavior. Respect in this sense isn't about approval. It's not pretending that what they did was okay. It's not allowing mistreatment to slide. Respect is about the way you choose to carry yourself. It's about showing restraint, choosing your words carefully, and refusing to let negativity dictate your character. Because when you respond with respect, you communicate something powerful. I am bigger than this moment, and I refuse to be reduced by it. Think about how disarming it is when someone expects you to fight back, but instead, you hold your composure. They raise their voice, and you keep your steady. They insult you, and you speak calmly. They mock, and you choose to answer with clarity instead of anger. In that moment, you take away their control. Retaliation fuels the fire, but respect takes the oxygen out of it. You turn what could have been a shouting match into a statement of self-respect. Responding with respect also builds long-term strength. People may forget the details of what was said in an argument, but they remember how you carried yourself. They remember if you lost your temper or if you stood with dignity. And often those who look down on you end up being caught off guard when they realize you won't engage in petty battles. You're teaching them that their disrespect doesn't move you. It doesn't change your tone. It doesn't shake your foundation, and it doesn't lower your standard. Of course, respect doesn't mean being a doormat. There's a difference between responding respectfully and tolerating abuse. Respect means setting boundaries without venom. You can say, I won't continue this conversation if it's going to be disrespectful in a way that is firm but not demeaning. You can walk away with your head held high instead of storming out in anger. That balanced strength with respect is what separates leadership from weakness. The truth is, retaliation might feel good for a moment, but it rarely changes anything. It often escalates conflict, damages relationships, and leaves you feeling just as small as the person who provoked you. Respect, however, leaves you intact. It leaves you aligned with your values. It allows you to walk away from the moment, knowing that you didn't compromise who you are. At the end of the day, people who look down on you expect retaliation because it justifies their low opinion. But when you respond with respect, you prove them wrong without even trying. You show that their attitude cannot rewrite your character, and that is far more powerful than any insult you could throw back. Remember this, responding with respect is not weakness. It's choosing the high road, the road fewer people take, the road that keeps your dignity intact. And in the long run, that will always place you higher than the ones who tried to bring you down. When people look down on you, one of the strongest tools you can use to protect yourself is boundaries. Boundaries are not about pushing others away or being cold. They are about creating clear lines that protect your peace, your dignity, and your self-respect. Without boundaries, you leave yourself open to repeated disrespect, because people will treat you the way you allow them to. Setting firm but polite boundaries is how you communicate without hostility, that you will not accept being diminished or disrespected. The key to effective boundaries is balance. They need to be strong enough to protect you, but delivered with calmness and clarity, so that you don't escalate the situation. For example, if someone speaks to you in a condescending tone, you don't have to match their sarcasm or raise your voice. You can simply say, I'm not comfortable with being spoken to like that. Or if this conversation is going to continue, it needs to be respectful. It's polite, but it's also firm. You didn't insult them back, but you made it clear that the behavior is unacceptable. Boundaries are also not one-time actions. They're consistent practices. If you set a boundary but fail to uphold it, people will test you again and again. For instance, if you say you won't respond to disrespect, but then you keep engaging in disrespectful conversations, you've weakened your own boundary. Consistency teaches others how to treat you. It shows them that your words aren't empty. They're real standards that you live. It's also important to understand that boundaries are for you, not for them. A lot of people misunderstand this. They think boundaries are about controlling someone else's behavior. But the truth is, you can't control anyone else. You can only control your own response. So when you set a boundary, you're saying, here is what I will do if this line is crossed. That might mean walking away from a conversation, limiting your time with certain people, or even cutting ties in extreme cases. Boundaries are not about punishment. They're about protection. There will be times when people push back. They may accuse you of being rude, dramatic, or overly sensitive. That's because boundaries often frustrate people who benefited from you having none. But this is where politeness plays an important role. You don't need to argue or justify endlessly. A calm response, like, I hear you, but this is what I need in order to feel respected, keeps the focus on your values, rather than their defensiveness. Being polite keeps the conversation grounded, while firmness ensures your line is clear. Setting boundaries doesn't make you harsh. It makes you healthy. It shows that you respect yourself enough not to tolerate being diminished. And when you respect yourself, others are far more likely to respect you too. Even those who initially resist may eventually adjust when they see your consistency. And if they don't, that's their choice. But your boundary ensures their negativity doesn't have unlimited access to your life. At the end of the day, boundaries are an act of self-respect. They are not walls that isolate you, but doors that you choose to open and close with intention. People may look down on you, but they can't step all over you unless you leave the door wide open. Setting firm but polite boundaries tells the world, I know my worth, and I will not allow anyone to treat me as less. And once you embrace that truth, you no longer live at the mercy of other people's disrespect. You live with the peace of knowing you have drawn your own lines and stood by them. The people you surround yourself with shape the way you see yourself and the way you experience life. When you spend time with those who constantly look down on you, even if you're strong, their negativity eventually seeps in. It makes you question your value. It plants seeds of doubt, and it drains your confidence. That's why it's so important to be intentional about who you let close to you. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift you isn't about being selective out of pride. It's about protecting your growth, your peace, and your self-worth. The right people will challenge you, but they won't belittle you. They will correct you when you're wrong, but they won't mock you. They will push you to grow, but they won't make you feel small in the process. That's the difference between people who truly care and people who simply want to feel superior. When you're around uplifting people, you don't have to prove your worth. You're reminded of, you don't have to shrink yourself to fit in. You're encouraged to expand into who you're meant to be. Think of it like this. Every conversation is an exchange of energy. Some people leave you drained, questioning yourself, and doubting your ability. Others leave you inspired, motivated, and more confident than before. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. That feeling is feedback. If you consistently walk away feeling smaller, it may be time to reconsider how much access that person has to your life. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift you also helps you handle those who look down on you more effectively. Why? Because when you're constantly reminded of your strengths and value by the right people, the wrong voices lose their weight. An insult doesn't sting as deeply when you're grounded in encouragement. Criticism doesn't crush you when you've been reminded of your potential. The uplifting voices act as a shield against the negativity, keeping you balanced and steady. Of course, this doesn't mean cutting off everyone who disagrees with you. Healthy relationships involve honest feedback, and sometimes that feedback is uncomfortable. The key difference is intent. Someone who uplifts you may challenge you, but they do it to help you rise, not to tear you down. Someone who looks down on you criticizes to feel bigger, not to help you grow. Learn to recognize the difference and place your energy where it's truly valued. The more you fill your circle with people who uplift you, the more you'll naturally rise to a higher standard. You'll think bigger, aim higher, and feel safer to step into your potential. Growth is contagious in the right environment. And the best part, when you're surrounded by uplifting people, you'll start becoming that uplifting presence for others too. It creates a cycle of encouragement that benefits everyone involved. At the end of the day, life is too short to keep investing your time and energy in people who tear you down. Choose the ones who believe in you, who remind you of your worth, who see your potential even when you don't see it yourself. Because when you surround yourself with people who uplift you, you don't just survive negativity, you thrive in spite of it. And once you build that circle, no one looking down on you can keep you from standing tall. When people look down on you, it can feel heavy. Their words sting, their tone cuts deep, and their attitude makes you question whether you're truly capable of more. But here's the truth. You can take that same negativity and turn it into fuel. Instead of letting it break you, you can let it build you. Instead of letting it push you down, you can let it push you forward. Because every time someone doubts you, underestimates you, or dismisses you, they hand you an opportunity to prove not to them but to yourself exactly what you're made of. Negativity is like waiting a gym. At first it feels uncomfortable, it resists you, it pushes against, but if you decide to lift it instead of running from it, that resistance makes you stronger. The same is true with people who look down on you. Their doubts can become your drive. Their rejection can become your redirection. Their arrogance can remind you to stay humble while you keep pushing forward. Turning negativity into motivation doesn't mean you have to obsess over proving everyone wrong. That's a trap. If your only focus is on changing their opinion, you'll never feel satisfied. Because some people will refuse to see your worth, no matter what you achieve. The point is not to convince them. The point is to convince yourself that you are capable of more than even you imagine. Their negativity is just a spark, a reminder to dig deeper, stay disciplined, and keep going when it would be easier to give up. There's a certain satisfaction in achieving something quietly, not out of spite, but out of growth. Success in many ways speaks for itself. When someone looks down on you and you rise anyway, you don't need to throw it in their face. You don't need to rub it in. The results become undeniable, and the best part is by then it won't even matter what they think, because your confidence will come from within, not from their validation. But here's the key. You have to keep your heart right in the process. Don't let their negativity turn you bitter. Don't let it poison your outlook. Use it as fuel, but don't let it harden you. Because the goal is not just to succeed. The goal is to succeed with peace. To win without losing yourself. To rise without needing to step on others. So when someone looks down on you, instead of shrinking, let it light a fire in you. Let it remind you that you're stronger than their opinion.
let it push you to work harder, grow wiser, and stand tall. Because the truth is, the best response to being underestimated isn't retaliation, it's elevation. It's showing through your actions and achievements that their negativity didn't stop you, it shaped you. At the end of the day, their negativity can either be the weight that crushes you, or the resistance that strengthens you. The choice is yours. So take every dismissive word, every arrogant glance, every underestimation, and turn it into energy. Energy to keep moving, to keep improving, to keep proving to yourself that you're capable of more. Because when you rise above with that kind of motivation, no one's negativity can hold you back. You'll already be too far ahead. When you put it all together, handling people who look down on you isn't about proving yourself to them. It's about proving to yourself that their opinion doesn't control your life. You stay calm, so you don't mirror their behavior. You protect your self-worth, because their opinion doesn't define you. You respond with respect, not retaliation, because your dignity matters more than winning an argument. You set firm but polite boundaries to guard your peace. You surround yourself with people who uplift you, so that their encouragement drowns out the noise. And you turn negativity into motivation, using it as fuel to rise higher, instead of letting it hold you back. At the end of the day, people can only look down on you if you give them permission. But when you know your value, carry yourself with respect, and choose growth over bitterness, their attitude loses all power over you. You don't need their approval to stand tall. You already have everything within you to rise above. Thank you.